Good evening, folks. When I make videos, I try my best to stray away from political issues because while I believe that everyone is entitled to their own opinion, I absolutely hate reading opinions that make me want to shoot myself. And I have no intention of arguing with people on the internet. However, I recently came across a piece of news that was just too funny to not talk about. Long are the days of protesting conferences by holding picket signs or signing some sort of online petition. No way. That is boomer behavior. Millennial cringe even. Instead of doing that, why don't you do something that really sends a message, you know? Something that has long-lasting impact. Why don't you unleash 6,000 crickets upon your local hate group? Yeah, you heard me. 6,000 crickets. I wasn't even being sarcastic about the long-lasting impact, honestly. That conference center is never gonna fully get rid of those crickets, I guarantee you. Releasing thousands of crickets is what some teenage trans activists did on October 11th during the LGB Alliance Conference in Westminster. Now, I have not heard of the LGB Alliance because I only participate in spaces that are trans inclusive, and as you can tell by the lack of T in this organization's name, this group is trans exclusive. But to give you some background, based on a quick read from their wiki page, they are a British advocacy group and registered charity founded in 2019 in opposition to the policies of trans issues. From my understanding, they originated in the UK and then later spread their branches internationally. And I find their group to be really funny because on their website, they claim that their main mission is to fight for the rights of people who have same-sex attraction. Yet, if you just look at their blog posts, practically all of them have to do with complaining about trans people and trans inclusive policies. First of all, I always found it funny when there's infighting in the LGBT plus community because, why? I am also talking about biphobia and racism within the community too, by the way. Aren't there enough battles to fight? And now you're gonna make up some more? Why are you wasting everyone's energy? Second of all, it's I don't quite understand how these people think that the struggles of trans people are much different from their own. Your enemies are the same. How is you cringing at trans people any different from your conservative neighbor Ben Shabibo cringing at you for holding hands with your partner? I don't get it. But anyway, back to the event. So as I mentioned, the annual LGB Alliance Conference was held at the Queen Elizabeth II Conference Centre in London. The conference itself was supposed to be an all-day event, jam-packed with all sorts of activities, opening from 8:30 a.m. with the last event planned to start at 7 p.m. I should also mention too that TERF mother J.K. Rowling made an appearance from her $150 million mega yacht for the opening statement.
I'd also like to state for the record that lesbians don't have penises.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks.
What a treat. Probably best she didn't make a live appearance lest she mass spread her mold spores into the crowd. The conference was going as well as any TERF meetup could go until about 3:30 p.m., right before infamous whistleblower Jamie Reed was about to go up to speak. Now, I had also not heard about Jamie Reed before this event, but after learning about her, I will say that this is a brilliant move. So, for context, Jamie Reed was a former caseworker at the Pediatric Gender Clinic in St. Louis, Missouri, who claimed that the St. Louis clinic failed to inform patients or their parents of the risks associated with gender-affirming treatments. A claim that seems to be disputed by the patients and families of the hospital. Let me emphasize, she is not a doctor, a psychologist, or anything like that deals directly with the patients. She is the lady who sends follow-up emails and schedules appointments, who is trying to expose things that happen in appointments that she is not physically present for. On top of that, her affidavit exposed patients' information without their consent, and while I'm no expert, I think that's definitely a HIPAA violation. At least that's what I gathered upon looking into the matter. If you want to know full details, journalist Erin Reed wrote a great article on this, which I will link in my description below. But again, I'm not here to argue with anyone. Back to the main reason for making this video. The crickets. 6,000 of them, released approximately 3:30 p.m. by youth-led UK trans activist group Trans Kids Deserve Better. This group was formed a bit more recently than the LGB Alliance, with their first notable protest taking place just in July of this year. 2 of their members climbed the NHS England headquarters to demand access to gender-affirming healthcare and protections against misgendering. Fast forward to October, 6 members of the group had infiltrated the LGBA conference and somehow snuck that many crickets past security. Which, I just wonder, how? I've never handled crickets in real life before, so I just genuinely don't know. But how do you sneak that many bugs into an event? Especially crickets, they're not quiet bugs, you know? Was the security just like non-existent? Did they not hear the crickets? Did they not question? I don't know. I was also curious about how the group obtained that many crickets, but I looked it up and apparently, in the States anyway, 5,000 crickets are just shy of $75. So I'm gonna guess about 100 USD in total for the crickets with tax and possibly shipping. I don't know. I mean, split amongst 6 friends, that's like $17 each. And yeah, I'd shell out $17 for the bit. Except obviously this was much more than a bit because they did manage to delay Jamie's speech against gender-affirming healthcare, and the stunt did manage to cancel and delay other events that were scheduled for the conference. 4 out of the 6 protesters did get apprehended, but all of them were eventually released and just escorted off the premises. None of them got arrested, which is best case scenario for them. Well, I very much feel for the cleaning staff who were probably just employed by the conference center itself and had no connection to the LGBA group. I will say that I personally think that this form of protest is absolutely goated. Look, no one actually got hurt, crickets do not harm people, and this stunt managed to disrupt the very event that the group was protesting in an effective way. Seems A+ in my opinion, maybe A- because again, I feel bad for the poor cleaning staff. Plus, can you imagine the absolute comedy of the situation as a transphobe goes on stage and all they hear is like crickets in the crowd? Amazing. I thought you could only read about these kinds of stories from some habitual liar on Tumblr. But no, this is reality. Real life imitates art. Now, literally everyone else in the queer community were having a great laugh about this, but of course, the LGB Alliance did not find this amusing. Vile animal cruelty by anti-LGBT activists. This is what homophobia looks like in the UK in 2024. All had to be trampled and vacuumed up. A few minutes of inconvenience for us, and death for these hapless creatures. Okay, a lot to unpack here. First, I love how Bev here, I'm gonna assume short for beverage, claimed that this was animal cruelty by anti-LGB activists, yet she is the one who admitted that the LGB attendees are the ones who trampled and vacuumed up the crickets. Like, who is really doing the animal cruelty here? Second, I love that the statement, "this is what homophobia looks like," is followed up by a few minutes of inconvenience. Just a few minutes of inconvenience, beverage? If this is what peak homophobia looks like nowadays, I'd say we've come quite a long way. We have made leaps and bounds if the worst that they're doing is just bombarding the the LGB with crickets. Today is #International Day of Girl 2024. How I wish the 4 girls here had protested about their sisters in Afghanistan, denied an education because of their sex, or stood up for girls across the world forced into marriage or trafficked for their sex. Instead, they chose to disrupt an LGB event. Okay, but like, I don't think the LGB Alliance group was advocating for that either. It definitely did not appear to be on their conference schedule at all. And like we've seen from their blog history, all the group really does is whine about trans people being included in queer spaces. But okay, Susan. The Trans Kids Deserve Better group seems to have appropriately counted this as a win. They posted several statements following the event explaining how their frustrations with anti-trans sentiments made by the LGBA group drove them to orchestrate this protest. And the publicity has seemed to do wonders for their campaign, so a very cool W for them. As of creating this video, both parties have simmered down and ceased to post, but man, will this event continue to live in my head as rent-free as the mold in J.K. Rowling's house. Anyhow, have you heard this story? Did you think it was fake the first time you heard about it like I did? Let me know in the comments below. I will probably be making a good amount of short videos for a while, since I have a very large video I'm slowly working on in the background, and I have learned after about a year of making videos on this channel that focusing my attention on projects that are more than 30 minutes long sure do burn me out. So if you have any other short, fun stories you'd like for me to cover, do let me know. Anyway guys, that's all I have for you today. Hope you had a very happy Halloween, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! Jellybean, what do you think about trans kids' rights? Her silence is deafening.